good genes passed on to offspring? That American Eagle ad with Sydney Sweeney is literally overt eugenics. I know you don't want to hear this, but if you want to talk about how that ad is promoting eugenics, which it absolutely is, we also have to talk about how choosing not to wear a mask when you can during an ongoing pandemic, because you're okay with a certain subset of people, primarily disabled people of color, dying for your own comfort, is also eugenics, just the more normalized kind. Bye.
You've most likely already seen the videos of ugly and insane women crying about Sydney Sweeney's jeans ads, calling her the bad kind of socialist for being an attractive blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman and saying that it's promoting eugenics. But why do they do this? What's actually going on here? Is she actually promoting eugenics, and is eugenics even a bad thing to begin with? To put it shortly, it's because they're dysgenic, spiteful mutants. Civilization is collapsing. Yes, sort of, no, but it depends on how it's implemented and what the goal is. For a quick but more in-depth answer, watch the full video. Make sure you like it as hard as leftists like degeneracy. Subscribe if you want to see more. Leave a comment, even if it's to disagree or throw insults. Almost everyone who speaks English has half a brain and hasn't been living under a rock knows about eugenics. And it's something that has been demonized as a horrible thing since World War II. But what actually is it? First, let's look at the definition Google loves to promote. Now, feel free to pause the video and read the whole thing. It basically adds a lot of extremely biased nonsense at the end that shouldn't be in the definition, making it about as credible as a Wikipedia article. Now, this is from the Oxford Dictionary, so it's no wonder the UK is in the state it's in. The definition is dripping with the biases of our current postmodern, gay, woke, liberal dystopia, so we'll just throw that out for now. Now, the goal is to seek the objective truth, so I won't engage in any sophistry by telling you to discard your natural ingrained biases, only to adopt the biases of the outgroup, who won't reciprocate such kindness and empathy. Instead of adopting this postmodern form of self-destructive insanity, we'll look at the etymology of the word. From Etym Online, here's their definition. Now feel free to pause this and take a good look at it. We see that this definition is much better. It's objective and leaves out the emotionally charged woke narrative. With the Greek etymology, it simply means good birth. Even without the knowledge of DNA and genetics, the ancients understood that nature had an impact on us, and not just through nurture alone. But why does it have such a negative connotation? Surely the promotion of good genes must be a good thing, right? Do we not want to advance the human race? That is, after all, what true progress, if that's the goal, must be. Talk to any boomer conservative, and they'll quickly tell you about the bad kind of socialists from Germany, and how they used it to justify their attempt to wipe out God's chosen people. Which is why anyone of European descent must be eternally subservient, apologetic, and place them and every other victim group on a pedestal. Talk to any woke liberal, and they might proclaim how the American government had its own attempt at eugenics in the early 20th century and forced the sterilization of certain people we found undesirable. But what's really the problem with these two scenarios? Why is it that the promotion of good genes is viewed as undesirable and not submitting to an all-powerful totalitarian state is considered the real problem? This appears to be an example of learning the wrong lesson from World War II and other past mistakes. Since World War II, what we've had instead of eugenics is the extreme opposite, dysgenics. Some of you may ask, what is dysgenics? And one can forgive such ignorance, considering how much Orwellian control the radical left has had on language. Take that original Oxford Dictionary definition of eugenics, for example. Eugenics is commonly used in our lexicon, but not the opposite extreme, dysgenics, or the promotion of bad genes. Much like how the word xenophobe is constantly repeated, yet nobody knows what an oikophobe is. After all, if you can control the language, you can control the narrative, and thus control the minds of the masses. Since we're living in a democracy, which means you have no rights because you're outnumbered, it becomes so much more important to any tyrant to have absolute control over such things like the media and the education system. The reason why people before World War II were so keen on implementing eugenics is that they had noticed that because of the Industrial Revolution and the invention of things like antibiotics, child mortality rates had plummeted to near zero. As sad as it is for a parent to lose their child, it was the very common occurrence throughout most of history. And it was a natural eugenic process that would filter out those least able to survive the natural world, including those with weak immune systems, weak minds, and weak muscles. Today, we don't live in a natural world. Almost everything is synthetic. Everything's fake, gay, cringe, retarded, and a psyop, particularly when it comes from big government, big corporations, and the money changers that control them all. Everything is fake. Our money is fake, the jobs are fake, the laws are fake, the food is fake, the vaccines are fake, and even the boobs are fake. The world is plastic and it's fantastic. So when the well-meaning yet foolish pink-haired woke-tard in the beginning of the video says that not wearing a mask when there's a pandemic is eugenics, she's technically not wrong, but she's wrong about the negative connotation behind it. Both eugenics and dysgenics can come in both natural and synthetic forms. Instead of allowing the existence of natural eugenics to counterbalance the dysgenics and allow for the continuation of Western civilization, spiteful mutants want to impose more state-mandated and synthetic dysgenics. I'm sure some of my viewers can easily name a bunch of examples of this. Welfare for single moms rewarding bad, sinful behavior, the institution of the Ponzi scheme called Social Security, which incentivizes short-sighted thinking, much like the democratic system itself. Universal health care in European countries and the demand for it here intensifies the already dysgenic nature of modern medicine. Nanny state safety laws, such as traffic laws, also turn out to be dysgenic because it turns out that actually trying to stop people from winning the Darwin Awards only helps keep more stupid people alive propagating their stupid genes.
My chromosomes, today I feel 80% female, 20% male. I'm gonna put on makeup. I'm gonna do that.
But Brondo's got what plants crave.
It's got electrolytes.
These well-meaning yet overtly collectivistic programs may sound nice, but they've only contributed to our decline. This is especially true when you pair this with universal suffrage, where anybody born in your country is given the power and privilege of the vote, and this is ludicrously considered a good by most people, especially when very few take a minute and actually think about it. Why is it that everyone, no matter how dumb, ignorant, gullible, dishonest, Machiavellian, neurotic, narcissistic, or just downright evil, has a say in how normal, decent, productive, and intelligent people live their lives? Almost nobody stops and asks what exactly voting is. It's exercising power over your neighbors, your fellow man. It's even exercising small power over people far away when it comes to national elections. Democracy, when you think about it, is just a glorified popularity contest that fools you into thinking you're free because you can vote for your slave master. We send our children to government institutions so they can teach them how great our government is, and we wonder why we now have less freedom and pay more taxes than we did under a monarchy. Or we won't even notice that happening at all because we're too busy with our bread and circus distractions. Pair this bad process with a culture, corporate oligarchy, and a political establishment that promotes and advocates for the propagation of the worst, the weakest, the dumbest, while we promote, celebrate, and commodify every sin imaginable and demonize pattern recognition, labeling it as some form of bigotry, lying to ourselves, pretending that made-up isms and phobias are the worst things imaginable. The West has replaced true virtue with virtue signaling, and a hedonistic desire to say and do whatever feels right in the now, and we wonder why we're in such a steep decline. Ultimately, we don't need to be too harsh on the radical woke left, because when we really think about it, the totalitarian liberal world order most likely wouldn't come to an end without them. Their insanity is the logical conclusion of false premises of liberalism. It was built on a foundation on quicksand, and it's about time it sinks. Their cult-like belief in the tabula rasa, or the blank slate theory, amounts to an environmentally deterministic viewpoint that has no basis in reality. The actual scientific research in genetics disproves this environmental determinism, not the practice of eugenics.
If you're wondering what I'm talking about when it comes to terminology like environmental determinism, the name in and of itself should be self-explanatory. Basically, people believe everything about us and what we do is caused by environment. Nothing is our fault, right? We're just products of our environment. That kind of, lefty liberal sentiment.
To answer the question asked in this video, is eugenics good or bad? It depends on what your goal is. If you want to advance humanity, technologically progress, and keep our civilization going, then eugenics is actually good. A true progressive would support Elon Musk and his endeavors, like Neuralink. They would worship at the altar of the cold, logical technique, not nice, fuzzy feelings about diversity and inclusion. However, if you're a fan of Ted Kaczynski, anarcho-primitivism, want to return to monkey, or just want to watch it all burn, because to hell with the empire of lies, then eugenics is bad, and it's dysgenics we want. I can't really say which side of that argument is the right one, because everything is ultimately a trade-off. Most moderate-minded people would like to stay where we are or progress slowly, instead of going to the extreme logical conclusion of man as machine or man as animal. Now that we've reached the logical extreme conclusion of liberalism with woke, as things tend to be taken to their logical conclusion. If we do pursue the logical conclusion of these two extremes, we can pursue the cold-blooded, soulless, technocratic demand to pursue ultimate efficiency. This includes things like eugenics, genetic engineering, the AI singularity, and Neuralink, leading to transhumanism and eventually posthumanism. We'd eventually become like the Borg hive mind and achieve true communism with none of that pesky individuality getting in the way, right, comrades? Yes, it turns out that only technocratic libertarians would ever be capable of bringing us to true communism. God loves irony. Most people like to engage in groupthink anyway, so why not? The sudden big push in advocacy for transgenderism was a step in that push for transhumanism. The other opposite extreme would be a great reset and return to primitive ways. This could happen in several possible ways, but very few people actively want this to happen, yet we can easily inadvertently cause it to happen, or it might be inevitably done by a higher power. This could be from a polar shift, a major solar flare, an asteroid, a supervolcano eruption, or some other natural disaster. The same woke-tards who advocate for transhumanism through transgenderism also advocate for barbarian invaders to flood our countries, to pillage and plunder like Rome all over again, because it would be racist not to. What do I advocate for? How about we just get rid of the tyranny of the weak and dysgenic? It imposes welfare programs that are grift, that only steal from the productive to give to the lazy, disincentivizing genuinely good, selfless charity, and replacing it with these parasitic welfare programs that promote bad behavior. It emphasizes safety over liberty and allows the state to arbitrarily dictate what's best for our personal lives, micromanages our every movement, and will beat you into submission if it thinks you're not being safe enough. It allows for your life, liberty, and property rights and pursuit of happiness to be deprived because someone's feelings were hurt. It's a gerontocracy of corrupt, feeble-minded, knavish boomer politicians clinging to life and power while they plunder the coffers, taking Western civilization with them to their graves. It forces you to wear a mask and take an experimental vaccine because some people have weak immune systems, and everything it does, it causes more harm than good. It did more damage to its own citizens than a Chinese bioweapon. These are examples of a feminine tyranny of the weak. It prioritizes safety and equality while disregarding basic liberties. Overall, eugenics is merely a tool used for actual progress, that is, technological progress, the only truly objective measure of such a nebulous concept. After all, these cosmopolitan and high-minded liberal values could only come about from decadence through the use of technique. I'll make my intentions clear, and that is to help restore balance of values after years of extreme emphasis on safety, equality, and shallow feelings of liberation. Though, of course, the left has thrown any semblance of safety out the window now with their push for open borders and anarcho-tyranny, merging the worst of two extremes. This only forces the masses into the arms of those they label fascist, but who can really blame them when they're constantly choosing between the lesser of two evils? What we've lost in pursuit of such things are purity, truth, meaning, and true liberty. That is the freedom that comes with responsibilities. And that is all. Thank you.
From the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me. I craved the strength and certainty of steel. I aspired to the purity of the blessed machine. Your kind cling to your flesh, as if it will not decay and fail you. One day the crude biomass that you call a temple will wither, and you will beg my kind to save you. But I am already saved. For the machine is immortal.